So in today's lesson, we're going to look at image deconstruction. Image deconstruction is really important. It's about you starting to understand and interpret photos. Think about what they're communicating, and it's important to start to unravel and unpick, the ideas behind the photo, how it's been constructed, what was the driving force behind the photographer's intentions, is it subjective, is it evocative of emotions, or is it objective, is it very matter of fact? How was it taken? What camera techniques have they used? Was it shot in a studio or was it shot out in location? But it's very, very important to look at other people's work, to make that kind of reinforce your own ideas and help kind of propel your development of your work by looking at other people's work, by drawing upon their influences, drawing upon their techniques, and then applying that, because those most talented artists and photographers have constantly been looking at other people's work to kind of elevate their own work. So image deconstruction is a key way to inform your work and help you progress your ideas to produce more innovative and more creative work. So hopefully by following this video, you'll gain a deeper insight into how to do it effectively and how to articulate yourself and express your ideas, and also how to research and finding quotes which relate to the images to show your contextual understanding and how that's informed your work. Okay, thank you. So in today's lesson, we're going to look at research and image deconstruction. I'm going to take you through a step-by-step guide on how to create the most effective image deconstruction so you understand exactly what you need to write, the key points, and how important image deconstruction is and how valuable it is to help you develop and progress your own ideas, to inform your practice, and to have a good understanding of the vocab and how photographers use the camera to communicate their ideas. So firstly, I wanted to show its relevance. So within the AQA assessment criteria, we've got 4 AO areas. So your research really fits in with the AO1. It is holistic, it still does kind of affect the marks across all 4 assessment objectives. However, this one seems the most relevant. So I'm not going to read through all of this to you, but I do want to pick up a few key words. So firstly, on the AO1, so it says about sustained and focused investigations informed by contextual and other sources, demonstrating analytical and critical understanding. So that's what your research does. It demonstrates your understanding. It shows how you can analyse other people's work as well as your own effectively. So successful work is likely to be cohesive, so very clear, and genuinely informed. So the artists that you look at seem very relevant to your ideas and clearly have helped develop and progress your project. And then the analytical and critical understanding will be evidenced through their visual and other material. So this is where it will be through your artist research and also through your essay for your A-level essay that you need to do for component 1. So if you do this well, then that's going to make your essay that much easier because it will inform that and you'll have all the information already there. Less successful work is likely to be more fragmented and offer little evidence of learning from the work of others. So we're aiming for the top band. So we want you to show your exceptional ability with your work. So you want the work to clarify the focus, so be key, relevant, logically structured, so the way that we're breaking it down and clearly looking at analysing different aspects of the image. And then it's insightful in the development of your own ideas. And also, this is really important, demonstrates fluent use of appropriate specialist vocabulary. So think about that. You need to make sure that you're using those key buzzwords. So this is a kind of flow chart of everything that you're going to be covering in your research. So this is what I would recommend as a template. Now, it doesn't have to be identical, but we do need to make sure that we've got the key text with your images. So on your first page, I've picked the artist Gregory Crewdson, one of my favourite photographers, and this would be the page 1, where I would show a selection of the photographer's work. So make sure all the images relate from the same series of work. Remember, photographers have a lifespan of photography that they've produced, and they have very different projects that they've created. So make sure all of those images relate to the theme that you're exploring, or relate to the one photo that you're going to image deconstruct. And secondly, make sure the images are good quality. So this is the template that I would recommend. You'll have a space here to put your photographer's quote and then the context. You design it, you lay it out as you want, but you must have this context here. So firstly, you want to start doing some research about the context of the photographer's work. So whoever you're looking up, so I've looked up Gregory Crewdson, I've started to research the sort of general ideas behind his work, so what he's trying to communicate through his photographs. And this is really important. Please make sure that you research this. Do not guess. I don't want to see, I think, I believe. No, you've researched it, you know, because you've gone out of your way to find that reference. So think about also, what's the photographer trying to say? Is it positive, negative, neutral? So this is the context that I've researched, and again, it's just a handful of lines here, so 3 or 4 sentences just to outline the concept behind his work. The next thing I've done is I've found a quote about his work. Now, the quote must relate to the images that you're talking about. It doesn't have to be from the photographer. It can be from someone that's written an article about the photographer's work. It could be taken from an exhibition. Very often when there's exhibitions in galleries, they'll have quotes about the work. And then this is really important. Make sure you add your link to the source of your quote. This will be particularly helpful when you're doing your bibliography for your essays as well. So then you can just copy those, okay? So that's what it should look like. You've got your photographer's quote and then the context, a background about the photographer's work. Now this is when you image deconstruct one picture. So pick the picture that you like the most, okay, that you feel inspired. So the next thing you need to do is write the name of the photographer, the title of the work, and when it was made. Then you need to start thinking about the content. So what's the genre of the photograph? Describe briefly what is in the photograph. Where was it taken? Location or studio? And think about its aesthetic qualities. Is it taken to show sort of beauty? Is it taken to show some sort of message, whether it's social, cultural, historical or political? So, and is the photo objective? Is it just a record, matter of fact, or is it subjective, where it's got more emotions attached to it? So this is my content where I've said the photos are tableau image. I've talked about the work being sort of carefully staged and set up like a studio setup. I've talked about the work being borrowed from the Millet's painting of Ophelia. So, and it's subjective. It's encouraging the viewer to create a narrative within the work. The next stage is form. So this is where you start to think about the formal elements. Now you're familiar with the formal elements. So you just start to talk about, the key ones, and what's the focal point in the image? What's your eye led to? And why has the photographer cropped the photo? So these are all important points to think of. And then the other thing is, how has the photograph been taken? Which angle, which vantage point? And here, this is my response of looking at the formal elements. So I've said that line is key. We've got a line here with the stairs. Colour's strong as well. You can see it through the reflection. The lighting is as well. Focal points, the model, and the image has been carefully constructed and framed as almost like it's a film set. And the vantage point is just above the model. Now you've got to think about process. So how was the image taken? Was it taken in studio lighting, natural lighting? Has the photographer processed or edited the photo? And what camera techniques has the photographer used? And then you write your response. Again, you need to research this. What type of camera? So Gregory Cruson uses a 10-8 plate camera. So do that research. He's painstakingly created this complicated, elaborate sort of stage set for his images. Everything is in large depth of field as well, and he's carefully lit it as well to create that sort of twilight mood within his images. And that brings us on to mood. So how has the composition with the photograph affected the mood of the image? How has the light or lighting been used to affect the image? What's the technique of the photographer and how they use that with their work? Think about the overall mood, key words that relate to the mood of the picture. So I've said here that the composition's borrowed from Millet's image of Ophelia. The lighting creates a sort of surreal twilight mood, and the overall mood of the image is cold and sense of anxiety and isolation. So the next point is inspiration. What's inspired the photographer and their work? And this is where you can make it a bit more visual as well, and you can include thumbnail images to show visual links. So here I've got the image from Millet's Ophelia, the original classical painting, so we can clearly see the visual links there. And then also Gregory Cruson was heavily inspired by cinema and films like Close Encounters of the Third Kind. So these sort of strong, sort of late 70s, 80s movies as well. So then you need to think about your response and connection. How has the photographer's work inspired you, and how will you relate your work to your research photographer's photos? So here I've said that how his work has inspired me, what aspects of his work I particularly like, so the element of suspense, the images alluding to a story behind the image, and then I plan to take a shoot at twilight to use the magical hour to create eerie and surreal images. So this will be your final sort of 2 pages. Remember, I want 2 pages, so you have 1 page selection of the photographer's work, a key quote and some context, and then a good detailed image deconstruction there. You can put arrows in if you want, but this is really good. This clearly shows a breakdown of your understanding of the photographer's work, and then you're using key language as well here. So you're talking about large depth of field, large format camera, aspects which are relevant to the photography course, which will just increase your grades, but most importantly just inform your practice and inform your knowledge and understanding. So so hopefully this will help you understand how to do some really effective image deconstruction. Thank you.